Hey, it is Goose, and this is On With the Show. And today's topic, we're going back to talk about the California governor's race. In fact, we're going to talk about California politics altogether. The reason I'm bringing this up is, one, I live in California, and just watching this whole scenario is embarrassing. It's making my blood, I don't want to say it makes my blood boil, but it's embarrassing to watch. It is quite possibly a joke of how California runs its elections. And so we're going to get into this right now. We're going to put on the OBS and we're going to get on with this show. So let's get into this. This is from KRON and Channel 4 in the San Francisco Bay Area. And it says, California governor race update, where the race stands nearly a week after the election. By Alex Baker, this written on the 8th of June. And it says here, from KRON, it's been nearly a full week since last Tuesday's primary election, and the question of which two gubernatorial candidates will advance to the general November election is still up in the air. A week after the election. I don't even understand why we have an election day if we're still counting votes a week later. While Democrat and former U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra officially advanced last week, and I'll talk about that in a minute, who Becerra's opponent for November is not yet clear. Becerra currently leads with 27.19% of the vote, with 72 of the precincts reporting. Republican and former Fox News commentator Steve Hilton is close behind with 25.85%, followed by Democrat billionaire activist Tom Steyer with 21.5%. Now, the reason they're giving you the point, the point is because they want to make it seem more dramatic than it really is. All right? Because it's really not that dramatic. Go down here. Now, you can see here's the governor's race as of right now. Becerra has moved on. He has 1,883,600 votes, 20. But here's Hilton. He has 1,792,391 votes, sitting at 25.86%. So he has less than 100,000 votes than Javier Becerra. Steyer is at 21.49%. with 1,489,425 votes. So he is a full about 350,000 votes behind Hilton as of right now. With 71 or 72% of the votes in, Chad Bianco is still at 10.59%. He's at 700. So he's far behind in fourth place. I don't see how he's going to recover. I think as of right now, and if you think about it, it's at 72%. Said they've got 72% of the vote of the precincts have reported. You really think Tom Steyer is going to get 350,000 votes, and Hilton's not going to get any, with 28% still reporting? Let me tell you something right now. If that happens, we know the fix is in. It's not just, I wonder if the fix is in. It's like, no, the fix is in. And I'll explain that in a little bit when we talk about the LA mayor's race in just a little bit. Sorry about that. The funny part is, and here's the interesting part, is that just after, on election day, Katie Porter concedes in California governor's race. This is on the 3rd of June. That was like the day after. Updated the day after. And again, KRON. Katie Porter has conceded in the California governor's race. Porter, a former Orange County congresswoman, had been trailing in recent polls despite being considered an early frontrunner. Her tumultuous campaign was undermined by viral videos, which it was, that showed her berating a staffer and awkwardly threatening to end an interview with a reporter. Recent polls had shown Porter trailing a distant fifth in the governor's race behind leading, Becerra and Steyer, Hilton, and even Chad Bianco. Despite being in single digits, Porter persisted her campaign until Tuesday night. So she continued her campaign up until election night, where she, while she had no public appearances scheduled, she put out a statement thanking her supporters Tuesday night. So she comes out in a video, thanks to your supporters. It looks like we're not going to be able to make it to the general election. Then why did you stay in? That was one of the biggest questions of this whole thing, is like, why is it that the Democrats are not falling out and consolidating their support to a front runner? And Katie Porter is the best example of this. She stayed in until the very end when she realized she was not going to move on. Not like weeks ago when you realized you were not going to move on. It was like, election, I'm going to stand. And she was like, she fully believed she was the only Democrat candidate that should be governor of the state of California. Let's go down here just so the votes are being counted, and it may take a few days here in California to have final numbers, but we know tonight that we will not advance to the general election. No kidding. But as I look back on this race, I am so incredibly proud of the campaign that we built together. I don't know, if you were considered a front runner and then fell back to single digits, even after Swalwell jumped out of the race, then, why would you, you didn't gain any momentum. You lost momentum after Swalwell got out. All of pretty much most of his support went to Becerra. Steyer may have gotten a little bit of it, but pretty much Becerra got all the support to Swalwell. When he left the room, it all went to him. And I pretty much predicted that was going to happen, back just a few weeks ago. But here's the interesting thing. Again, they're still counting these votes. And look at all these people. I mean, this is the other thing that kind of gets me too, is the fact that you had over 60 people in the ballot. And to find the person you were looking for. Now, it looks like here Steve Hilton is pretty chummy here with Tom Steyer. I mean, there's no reason to get personal. I mean, and the funny thing is, Steyer is kind of a snake. He's put out ads against Becerra that's made him look really, really, make Becerra look like he's about to be indicted. I mean, that's been one of the new rumors going around, that Becerra is going to be indicted for stuff that went on, with his campaign. But here's something that came out weeks ago that I don't think anybody paid attention to until just recently. Let me bring this up. This is from Breitbart on YouTube. Listen to this. This is Gavin Newsom doing a little. He says we have a break the glass scenario if Dems get shut out of the California governor's race. So
we all have agencies. We can shape the future. There's still a lot. Look, I've said this before, so I'll repeat it. I don't anticipate this needing to be the case, but there is a break the glass scenario, and there's many people that have a deep understanding of what it would look like if Democrats were locked out, and we're going to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, really? So they have a break the glass scenario in case the Democrats get locked out of the election. This was something that was quite possible just maybe about 6 weeks ago. It looks maybe 6 weeks ago. It looked like that the two Republicans were going to be the front runners to run for governor. This was back when Swalwell was still in the race. This was, he was starting to get the momentum, starting to become the leading Democrat candidate, but he hadn't quite broken that glass ceiling yet. But here Newsom is saying, we have a break the glass scenario if Dems get shut out of the California governor's race. Interesting. What is your break the glass scenario, Mr. Governor? It kind of sounds like election fraud, election interference. Is that quite possible? Yes, it's quite possible, because just over this weekend we got this from NBC4 in just over. Nithya Raman overtakes Spencer Pratt for second place in the LA mayoral race, results show. The progressive councilwoman was in third place, and she wasn't just like in third place. She was in a distant third. She was so far back that, she gave a concession speech. I'm not going to show that. There have been a lot of other people who show that. You can go check them out. I'm not going to show that. But she gave a crying, tearful concession speech. And, this was published by Danielle Smith on the 7th of June, which was yesterday, actually. And it said, Los Angeles City Councilwoman Nithya Raman. Flying in front of me. Nithya Raman overtook former reality TV star Spencer Pratt for second place in the Los Angeles mayoral primary race on Sunday, the latest election results show. NBC projected the election night that LA Mayor Karen Bass will advance the runoff, but the question of who she will face in the general election remained. It remained, with 83% expected vote in. Democratic incumbent maintained her lead. Votes 34.68 according to the update vote tally released Los Angeles County. So let's just look at this. Somehow, Nithya Raman got just enough votes to overtake Spencer Pratt by 3,000 votes when she was trailing miserably. I think at the time last week she had like 20%, maybe 22% at the time. But all of the mail-in, but they still had mail-in ballots that hadn't come in yet. And somehow Nithya Raman got 40% of the mail-in ballots. Somebody asked ChatGPT if that was possible, and even ChatGPT was it's not even improbable, it's impossible. In other words, but somehow Gavin over here has his break the glass scenario. You got to wonder, maybe he used his break the glass scenario to make sure that Raman got in ahead of Spencer Pratt. You don't think, and here's the interesting thing, because that is what people are looking at now. I saw something over the weekend where, President Trump walked off an interview with Kristen Welker, who I have great respect for, both President Trump and Kristen Welker. And the president was looking at Welker like, there's huge, look at California. It's, huge election fraud going on. And she kept saying, well, do you have proof of that? Do you have proof of that? Kristen, just look around. Just look around. We have a woman who gave a concession speech on election night, believing there's no possible way that she would be able to overtake Spencer Pratt. And then by some miracle, she overtakes Spencer Pratt to run against Karen Bass in the LA mayor's race? Are you blind? Or are you just willfully not looking at this? Because you're supposed to be an investigative reporter, and yet you would think by looking at this, something doesn't make sense. Everybody sees this, but you. And it's no wonder why people are. It's no wonder why people are like looking at the elections and going, the fix is in. The fix is in. I would not be surprised. Matter of fact, would not be surprised. Spencer Pratt is eventually, he's going to go, file a complaint. He's going to do something. Ain't no way that this woman got 40% of the mail-in vote, you know, everybody is sitting there going, that's just not possible. You know, even if it was in the most progressive parts of Los Angeles, and you're telling me that Mayor Bass didn't get any of these other votes, that just somehow Nithya Raman, nobody even knew who she was outside of Los Angeles. I live near Los Angeles. I didn't even know who she was. You know, ain't no freaking way. And this is why, people want to have the SAVE Act. This is why people want to have certain restrictions on mail-in ballots. Governor Newsom here has made it a point to send everybody a mail-in ballot. People who don't even live here are getting mail-in ballots, which just breeds, fraud. I could move to Colorado or Nevada and get a mail-in ballot here and come back, get my mail-in ballot and vote. I don't even live, and I'm just using a hypothetical, but it's a very, very good hypothetical. The idea that, just send that everybody gets them. It's like, it's like the old Oprah show. It's like, you get a car and you get a ballot and you get a ballot and you get a ballot. And it's like, people who don't even live here anymore are getting ballots. It's just ripe with the election fraud. And I know exactly what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to sit there and they're going to go, well, are you an election denier? You must be an election denier if you're going to, if you want to. No, what I want as a citizen of the state of California, I want to make sure that my elections are up and up. And if you don't want to bring in the DOJ, if you don't want to bring in the DOJ and have Trump come in here and take a look, just to take a look, it tells me that you're scared of something. You're scared of something because if there's even a sniff of fraud in the California elections, well, then what's to say that there isn't widespread fraud throughout the state of California as far as voters are concerned? Don't you want to prove to the DOJ that the California elections are on the up and up? No. What we have is we have Gavin Newsom. We're saying we have a break the glass scenario. We're not going to allow Democrats to be shut out of the governor's election. No. We can't have that. Because now it's becoming out here. Let's go to the next. The New York Times. What's taking so long to count California ballots? Other states with vote by mail manage to count much more quickly. That's the crazy part. This is by Maya Spado. This is today, the June 8th. California's election process is notoriously time-consuming, in part because of the state's reliance on mail-in voting and a requirement that officials do extensive work to check signatures, open envelopes, and inspect ballots. This year, a large surge of Democratic voters weighing a choice among candidates they felt were unexciting waited longer to turn in their ballots, further slowing down the count. Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, has acknowledged that the long counting process doesn't look good. Oh, gee, really? And opens the state up to criticism and conspiracy theories, including from President Trump. The governor sent a letter to elections officials in May urging them to speed things up, saying that the longer the voting count takes, the more mis and disinformation spreads. But his plea does not appear to have moved the needle. No kidding. I don't remember who said it, but I saw something over the weekend which was like, why don't we have people counting ballots 24/7? Why don't we have people working in shifts counting ballots? Why do we have to have, it's almost like, it's almost like a union thing, 8 to 5, just take our breaks. So no one's there counting ballots. If you really want to make, and again, you know what? He's right. It gives the propriety of the fact that there's a lot of shenanigans going on here in the California voting process. Why we can't go back to, because, the reason that they do the mail-in ballots is because, well, COVID, all the way back in 2020. That's why we have the mail-in ballot process. We still have mail-in ballots for other reasons, but it became a mass thing come 2020, and in every election since then, to just send out all these mail-in ballots to everybody. Excuse me. Because, oh my gosh, why make it easy? Why make it so hard for people to go to the ballot box? And let me be honest. I mean, when we got our ballots, I filled mine out. I dropped, if you haven't, I've got a video over on Travel by Nature. Go over there. You'll see it. I personally dropped off my own ballot to the elections office. I didn't go to a drop box or anything. I went to the elections office, made sure that everything looked good, dropped it off. Boom. Now, the only thing is that they did not, of course, we don't have voter ID here. So obviously I just left it and left. But it would be nice to verify that I'm the person that's dropping off this ballot. Wouldn't it? Why is it so difficult that we don't want our elections process to just be spot on? Why do we have to make it to where there could be any number of reasons? Again, he says it doesn't look good and opens up the reason. It doesn't look the long counting process doesn't look good and opens the state up to criticism and conspiracy theories, including for President Trump. Yes, it does. It makes California look incompetent. It just, especially when you have states like, again, Florida and Texas, they get all their ballots. And I think that, from what I heard, is nobody counts these ballots. I dropped my ballot off like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it wasn't counted until election night. Why? Why take so long? Because we have a governor here who has a break the glass scenario. He may say one thing, please speed this up, but he has something else entirely different. Now we have this coming again, NBC News. DOJ office says multiple probes of California elections underway after Trump cries foul. A federal prosecutor indicated the investigations are focused on the Los Angeles area following President Donald Trump claims without evidence of cheating in the primaries. Now, again, they like to say without evidence. Look around. Just look around. Can you do that? If you look around, it's like, something doesn't seem right here. Something doesn't seem right here. This was written on the 5th of June by Liz Kreutz, I'm going to say, and Kayla Goifoyle. A federal prosecutor in California said Friday that authorities have launched investigations tied to the state's recent elections. And I got a fly running through my head. To the recent elections following President Donald Trump's unsubstantiated claims of fraud. Bill Asiley, first assistant U.S. attorney for the district. I'm going to try and get this damn thing. This is just driving me nuts. It's not that he's just flying around. It's that he's flying around in front of me. All right. Get back on track. Bill Asiley, first assistant U.S. attorney for the Central District of California, said Friday morning on X. His office was pursuing multiple election fraud investigations alongside the FBI without providing details. They don't have to. We will follow the evidence wherever it leads and prosecute any violations of federal election fraud to the fullest extent. Asiley, I hope I'm saying his name right, who criticized California's mail voting, a frequent target of Trump's false claims of election fraud, asked about the investigations announced by Sally Laura I. Miller, a spokesperson for the FBI in Los Angeles, told NBC News Saturday that while the FBI does investigate election violations, the FBI doesn't confirm or deny the existence of investigations as a rule. Around the same time, Castelli's post, federal prosecutor from the U.S. Attorney's Office visited the Ballot Processing Center for Los Angeles. So basically, they're looking into this. The registrar's office said it was notified late Thursday that the U.S. Attorney's Office would be sending a government attorney to observe ballot processing activities. The individual arrived this morning, was provided an overview of the public observation program, and participated in a walkthrough of the ballot processing operations. Hey, they're giving them a tour. The spokesman said that ballot processing is open to public observation and that election officials routinely host observers representing a wide range of interests, including politicians, advocacy groups, members of the public, blah, blah, blah. Justice Department did not immediately respond to an inquiry. The developments come a day after President Trump claimed without evidence, again, make sure they put that in, without evidence, that Democrats are trying to steal the California primary elections, which took place Tuesday. There's a big cheating going on. I love this. There's a big cheating going on by the Democrats in California. Votes are all tied up, may not be in for weeks. Under investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Los Angeles. Why the vote counting delay? That is the biggest. Sorry. In 2022, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, a Democrat, was not announced as the winner until 8 days after the election. Bass is seeking another term. Mail-in ballots are counted over a series of days, often favor Democrat candidates. I don't really care. But as the count drags on for primary races across the state, Trump and his allies, including Republican gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton, are ramping up their criticism of the vote counting. Now, as of Friday evening, NBC News projected that Democrat gubernatorial candidate Javier Becerra will advance to the general election with Hilton and Steyer competing for second. Here's the interesting part, and this is one of the things I didn't bring up earlier. Because I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday, I'm watching the news. I'm watching the latest news on the governor's race. And it's talking about how it's too close to call. But somehow they called Becerra, who was in second place. Not first place. At the time, he was in second place. They called him, said he was going on to the general election. Even though at that time, Steve Hilton was still leading. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, if they're going to call Becerra because there was a better chance of Steyer overcoming Becerra than it was at that time that Hilton was going to be overtaken. And Hilton's not going to be overtaken. They should just call it. There's not a mathematical possibility that Steyer is going to overtake Hilton. But they don't want to call it because they don't want... Look, let me just look at this right here. Look at it right here. This was as of today. Steyer is 350,000 votes behind with 72% called in. He would pretty much almost have to get, 60, 70% of those votes. That would be, I'm sorry, there's not a mathematical possibility. Well, there's one mathematical possibility, and that is if, he gets them all. But the likelihood of that is not there. So I don't know what in the world's going on here in California with the elections process. I don't understand why. Because I'm not going to go and give my opinion. I'll be able to give it to you right here. I don't understand why it has to take them, because they're talking about it's going to take. We might even not even go till next. We may not even know the results until next month. That is what is making California right now a laughingstock, and it makes you wonder again. Going back here, are we going through a break the glass scenario? Has Governor Gavin Newsom set something up to cheat for the Democrats, to make sure that, because like he said, let's run this again. Because he was asked about the Republicans being the two candidates for governor, and he says,
agencies we can shape the future. There's still a lot. Look, I've said this before, so I'll repeat it. I don't anticipate this need to be the case, but there is a break the glass scenario, and there's many people that have a deep understanding of what it would look like if Democrats were locked out, and we're going to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen.
We're going to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. What is a break the glass scenario? Break the glass means it's an emergency situation. If you go into any of these buildings, you see those little things on the walls where it's got fire hoses and axes and everything. That's break the glass. You break the glass in an emergency to put a fire out. That's what he's saying here. He's saying we have something in place to make sure that the Democrats aren't going to get shut out. Really? Again, sounds like election tampering, doesn't it? I'm going to leave this here. Like I said, I'm not going to go back, and I've said all I want about this whole scenario. Our elections process here in California is screwed. And I think when Steve Hilton becomes the governor of California, because I do anticipate him becoming the new governor of California, I think one of the first things he's going to do is clean up California elections. And anybody who tries to get in his way he's going to make it a point where it's like, why do you want to always have California elections go, weeks out? Why can't we get everything done now? Because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be a citizen of California and to sit through this mess. Like I said, I got nothing else to say about this. If you haven't already, go down, subscribe to the channel, bang the bell for notifications so when new videos are uploaded. Give me a big like on the video because it does help me with the algorithm. It does let me know that this is the kind of thing you like. Share this out to your friends, family, neighbors, and do me a favor. Leave me a comment because I want to know, what do you think is going on here in California? Is the fix in? Are the Democrats cheating? Are we really counting every vote? Or because this is just absolutely insane. California, we need to do better. We need to do better than this. I think this is a great example of how our elections have just gotten way, way out of hand. All right. I will see you all later. I am Goose. You've been watching On With The Show. I'll catch you all on the other side.